Sydney Watson, we are reviewing your video because we watched you on the anti versus pro feminist debate that you and Just Pearly Things wrecked.
I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized.
On Vice, y'all did a phenomenal job, and a lot of the people inside of my chat stream would just let me know that you was fired. They was giving me your name and everything. I didn't know your name, but my gracious. So that's the reason why we're over here. We checked out a conversation that you was having in a panel. I think it was on your podcast, and some gentleman by the name of Jack Murphy popped off real slick to you. I was like, man, what in the world did she do to deserve that? I never got my answer from just watching that. I'm sure I missed something, but I'm watching this right here because this is you addressing the incident by yourself and hearing it directly from your lips. Then that's what we're going to do.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Or I may not be aware that I was involved in an incident. On my show, You Are Here with Elijah Schaefer on Blaze TV on our last episode of the year, which was on the 17th of December, for those of you who need all the details. It was, in fact, a beautiful way to round out 2021. It really gave me the warm and fuzzies. I will play the clip, but for those of you who haven't seen it, and for context and a refresher, we brought on a guest called Jack Murphy, and the show was going really well up until the end when I was reading super chats, and I read one that referenced an article that he had written some years ago, and he got very upset and swore at me.
Oh, so that's how he was tied. It referenced an article that he wrote. I guess he didn't look that good in the article he wrote.
And then at the end of the show, he got up and briskly walked away.
When I seen him do it, I was shocked because that's a scary looking dude. Scary looking brother. I call him Beard Gang. Beard Gang, yeah. For him to pop off like that to her, it's like, bruh, what are you doing, man? Young lady, I don't think she deserved that. It was like they seemed to be all having a good time. She read she read the chat from Mr. Dick and Balls. And then you got pissed off. Sheesh. So I'm hoping she tells it all, because I don't want to miss a sip of this juicy information.
So yeah, here's the clip in question.
Mr. Dick and Balls says, hey, Jack.
See, that's what she does. She does this. Like, she reads it like that's normal. Like, she's not even saying, I'm not going to skip the name. She just goes, Mr. Dick and Balls said.
Could you please clear up the article you wrote?
I am not going to talk about this.
Okay.
And basically, you know what? Fuck you.
Oh, she was saying, could you please clear up that article you wrote about cocks? Oh, that was something that was near and dear to him. Okay, I'm getting it now. Okay.
For bringing this up right here and right now. Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was.
Well, just use a little bit of common sense.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Elizabeth.
Heartfelt.
And that, see, look at that, man. Nah, man. Nah. So since we all, okay, I get it now. We are all on the show together. Why you gonna read a chat to put me out there like that? That's not fun. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I get that part. I don't get how you daggone went overboard to speak in that manner to a fellow co-host. That's it. I don't give a damn if it was one of the men, a fellow co-host. But guess what? You know what I mean? This is the game you're in. He said, won't you use some effing common sense? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if that deserved an apology. Because he didn't even express to her why that was such a touchy subject for him. And she didn't deserve that, in my opinion, up to this point. Because I'm not trying to protect the white lady. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's what they always say. You try to protect the white lady. No, I'm not. Okay?
Elizabeth Harrison says, gonna miss the show, but have a good break. IHTAC, what's that?
And what is a cuck? Someone please explain that. You're like, dude, are you living under a rock? I bet I can name like 20 terms you don't know. I bet. That's only because we come from different parts of the world. That's it. Because it was a story about him being a cuck. What's yeah, you gotta tell me what a cuck is, man. Is a man who shares his wife. Hey. Oh, that trying to change his things. Oh, that kind of changes things. Okay. Now that doesn't, okay. That's like a Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett Smith joke moment. That's what that's like. Because it don't only involve him. It involves him and his wife. It involves him and what goes on in his home. It involves him and his sneaky, freaky business that he don't want all in the streets. You put that out there. So yeah, I can see why he was upset. I'm just not a man that talks to women like that. I don't talk to women like that. I think it's another way that you could have expressed yourself. I get that you was pissed, but I guess you wanted everyone to know I'm pissed. And I don't give a damn who hear it.
What?
Nothing. I literally was just coughing. It's just an inconvenient cough.
So since this incident, a couple of things have happened, and while I initially had decided that I wasn't really going to comment publicly or say anything about it, just sort of let it run its course, some things have been said that I think misrepresent me and my actions, and I would like to clear those things up. A general rule of thumb with me is that I don't really like participating in drama, particularly when it comes to other content creators or commentators or whoever, simply because I really think it just detracts from what I do, which is to make content that hopefully can expose people to new ideas or change their mind, or, in the really long run, promote right-wing values and hopefully in some capacity be able to change the direction of the country that I live in. But when people say things about me or about a situation that I'm involved in that are blatantly untrue, or things that paint me in a really unreasonable light, without defending myself or giving me a platform to come back at you and set the record straight, that is the point where I feel like now I need to say something. And that's what we're going to do now. So Jack Murphy went on Tim Pool's Timcast IRL a couple days after the incident happened with me on You Are Here. And due to the volume of comments and super chats and questions about what had happened between us, they addressed it on the show.
Well, people are mad at you for yelling it.
They're like, we can talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
I think they're using, a lot of people don't like the article. A lot of people are using that because they're mad at you, but I think the anger comes from you yelling at Sydney.
Right. So here's what happened with Sydney. So I'm sitting on the show and we're talking and they're joking about reading super chats where people are building like gas chambers and she's reading out loud like, how did I build this gas chamber that didn't kill all the Jews that I was supposed to kill, right? It's like insane, the super chats that she reads. And so I'm telling her this whole...
Oh my gracious. So those, okay, all right. So he got a couple of things that's kind of getting under his skin. All right, I'm following along.
I'm like, hey, you might want to read all the super chats before you read them out loud, right? A little bit of a warning. And then she asked me the question about the article, and I answered it politely. I deflected. I was like, that's not me. It's 180 degrees from whatever that article says. And I'd really rather not talk about it anymore. And then a couple minutes later, she literally asked me the same question all over again. And I cursed at her. I shouldn't have cursed at her. And I...
Hold up. He already said that he made it clear before that he didn't want to talk about it. So he expressed that before he got all upset and after she asked him the first time. Okay, I'm following along. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Listen, I'm following. Look, he warned, look, I don't want to talk about this. And then she said it again. You know what? F you. F mother effing you.
I apologize, Sydney. I apologized to her that day and that night and the next day. And she accepted my apology. So I don't know why everybody's still butthurt. But I shouldn't have cursed at her. I should have just used amused mastery and just like laughed at her and dismissed her. But I didn't because I had set a boundary and she crossed it. And that's part of being a man too, is saying, here's my boundary, please don't cross it. And then she crossed it, and I told her that I didn't like it. Did I use the right words? No.
And by you not using the right words, it made you seem overly emotional. Apparently that's a debate nowadays. Who's most emotional, the men or the women? And when you do that, knowing the setting you're in, knowing like who you're talking to, not only a coworker, but a young lady, right? You have a responsibility. You say, well, is this a man? Well, if you want to talk about, being a man and being able to set boundaries, then and you're doing it to set an example, then that right there is also you setting an example, especially since you have a platform and people probably do look up to you. So if they see you speaking that way to your fellow podcasters and specifically a young lady in that way, and then seeing you storm off, please tell me what good do you want any young man to get from that? Teach them how to speak to the ladies, but you didn't do that. Even if you have a valid argument right now.
I have cursed at her? No. And did I apologize to her for that? Yes. Did she apologize to me for putting me in a bad spot? Yes. Did Elijah? Yes. Did Elijah and I go out for dinner and drinks afterwards? Yes. Has Sydney and I talked afterwards? Yes. So I don't understand why everybody's so white knighting, simping for her. She can stand up for herself. It's resolved. And in my mind, it's done. And to me, this is such a nothing burger in my life. I am so focused on so many other bigger, more important things.
I like that nothing burger. I like that nothing burger.
That people chipping and chirping away at me at this are just so annoying.
It is true that Jack reached out and apologized to me. It's also true that he and Elijah caught up for drinks so that Elijah could better explain what had happened and potentially resolve the situation. Again, I think it's important to note, and I want to stress this, that Jack thought that I was acting out of maliciousness, which again, I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't know what was said. This is just what was told to me. He thought that I was doing it deliberately, that I was trying to dredge things up and potentially embarrass him when that's obviously not the case. And I just don't operate like that. That's not what I do. I also want to highlight that at no point, not during the show, not before the show, not at any point in the entire time that I have known Jack, has it been told to me that A, this topic existed and this article in question existed, and B, that it was something that was off limits that we couldn't talk about. That was not stipulated. That was not brought up to any of us, not to me, not to Elijah, not to Brandon. This was not something that any of us knew about. So when these questions started cropping up, this was all new information to me. Jack said on Tim Pool that he made it very clear that he didn't want to talk about the article in question and that he made that expressly clear to us, and we brought it up anyway. Here's the clip of him saying that.
A lot of the super chats we got about, the Sydney and Elijah thing are people genuinely being like, I don't understand what that was. What happened?
With Sydney.
Yeah, they were like, what happened with that? What happened? But we addressed it.
Well, yeah, when the people clipped it, where all they see is me saying, cursing at her. But they didn't see the whole thing where I was like, let's not talk about that after I've addressed it. And then she brought it up again.
However, this was not said to us at any point during the You Are Here episode.
Wow, bruh. You lying. It's okay to lie. I get it. No, it's not. Yo, man, what you lying for? No need to lie. Just like there's no need to get so emotional to a daggone woman in the middle of a professional setting that you gotta cuss at her and storm off. Everything about that was extremely emotional, bruh. Nobody's simping for this young lady. What you try to do is give us let me get in front of this. Let me tell y'all, first of all, before she said it in front of all y'all, y'all ain't even know it, but I told her not to say it. I said, don't say it. That's what I said to her right before she said it. And she just now lets you know that you lying, man. Why you gotta lie, bruh?
Here is a clip of that for you.
Because you guys are the advertisers. That's why we try to get through all of these and read all your
All right,
comments.
I got a few
Even
more.
if you're trapping me. No, I want to read this one first. Because I started it and I'm going to finish what I started. Anamorphosis says, Elijah, and I apologize for this in advance, Jack, asked Murphy about the article he wrote about literally cuckolding his wife. I wish I was joking. True alpha.
Wow. Wow, you went there with that. I have absolutely no comment on that other than to say that whatever people's perception is about that, it's 180 degrees wrong. And it has nothing to do with people think what they're thinking it to be today.
Are we talking about sex right now?
Do you know what cuckolding is?
I totally thought
It's
you were
where
reading...
you get a chicken and you hold it. And
No,
you love it.
I just blanked
And then
out for a second.
You make more chickens.
So she actually, okay, So she's just making light of cuckolding. And, and she's talking about chickens. She's having fun. She's moving on from the other thing.
I just blanked out for a second.
I support you having chickens.
We don't
have
kink
chickens.
shame.
I like chickens.
If you have a hen house, that's great. That's you should have your own eggs. Great.
We don't
supply,
kink shame.
Great for protein.
You are here does not kink shame. I want to bring that out that we do not kink shame. If you're like, if you don't want to have, if you hate women, don't want to have any sex at all, that's your lifestyle. Or if you're a nude model, that's your lifestyle.
I love watching the cake be made. Like I like watching the whole process from the crumbs to the cake. Like I like watching the entire process because this piece of the video was played in the beginning, and when I saw it, it was like, okay, I'm just watching it. Not really that entertaining for me because I don't know any of the people there, and I don't understand. I have no context. But now that she's giving context, I'm looking at them having this conversation leading up to the point where she gets cussed out and he storms off. Now I'm like locked in. This thing's like a movie. Like, oh, okay, let me see him. I don't hear him say it. I'm waiting to hear him say it. When is he gonna say, look, you brought that up, don't bring it up again. I'm listening.
And you can be both at the same time.
Or if you want to sleep with trans Elijah, you know, Ellie Schaefer.
Literally,
If you wanna breed
if
him,
you want to have
that's
sex
okay.
with my ankles, maybe. Kez might allow it.
Something to note here too is that Elijah and I read all of our super chats. It's the one thing that we do on the show. I think it makes a lot of our viewers really happy. I really get a laugh out of reading them, and we read all of them, even if they're mean, even if they're funny, even if they're very loving and kind. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we like engaging with the audience. And so anybody who comes on the show should know in some capacity that we will be reading the super chats. Now, Jack makes mention in the Tim Pool episode that he highlighted to me that
She has really nice skin. And Happy New Year's, guys. Happy New Year to all of you, if I haven't said it to you already.
we're reading the super chats before I read them out loud. Now, again, if he was saying that in reference to the fact that he wanted me to avoid super chats about this article and about cucking, then that wasn't made clear to me. That was not something that I picked up on at the time. That was not something that I knew he wanted me to do. I'm not a mind reader. I also want to highlight too that you guys are sneaky, and the way that you often get me to say really messed up stuff is by writing things in a way that when it's read phonetically sounds like something totally different. So I will actually note that because super chats and comments on YouTube do restrict some words, the way that some of these super chats were written and spelled was not immediately clear to me as I was reading them. Now you can argue that's because I am a giant dum-dum, and you might be correct. I don't know. I just don't hang out on these parts of the internet. So when people make these comments or they say these things, it goes right over my head. Half the time, the jokes on the show go right over my head.
I like that. I don't hang out on these parts of the internet. That's your algorithm. That's how you build that algorithm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not clued in. So I'll say here that reading super chats about cuckolding and cucking one's partner just seemed like regular trolling to me, and I did not know what they were in reference to. I also apologized in advance in this next clip to Jack before I read the first super chat in this situation.
Hold on. So before this part right here, because he said he was reading in her voice that she was saying some anti-Semitic stuff. That's not what happened. When he was reading in her voice, she was talking about something completely different. Unless I'm just dyslexic in hearing, if that's a thing. You might, sometimes I do hear things different, but it sounds like he's telling it different. He's trying to jump to the most ridiculous case to make his own so that they can listen to him and follow whatever he wants them to do.
Because of its content. You know, Elijah and I put up with a lot of trolling and a lot of, you know, silly inside jokes and things like that, but not everyone is prepared for that. So I wanted to basically highlight that what was coming might be weird or uncomfortable. Again, I did that because I thought it was trolling, not because I knew of the context behind it. As you can see, he responded fairly well in good humor. There was no context given to us at this point. I want to highlight as well again that he didn't say that this was a topic that was off limits, that he didn't want to talk about. There were no boundaries set, as he likes to say. Elijah and I made some jokes and we moved on. Someone then asked a second time, and the incident occurred. I was obviously very confused. I initially did not know if the anger was being directed at me or the super chatter. I initially thought it was the super chatter. And then I realized the anger was being directed at me, the swearing was being directed at me, and I was just sort of like, what? I've seen a couple people say that they wish that I had...
You handled that like a G, all right? Honestly, wow, for under pressure, you kept it going. You didn't show that you was all scared of them, but you did acknowledge that, whoa, this dude's serious. Look, I apologize. I'm glad that you didn't say anything else. I'm glad that you did not say anything else, because if you would have gone back, and I think he wanted you to go back and forth with him. He was feeling some type of way, and it was all because of him doing nasty freaky things with his wife, and he didn't want you bringing it up again. It wasn't even your fault. He shouldn't have come to that daggone platform knowing that there was a possibility of that article, which he already knew people was talking about, was going to be brought up on your daggone platform. And it did. He got to deal with that. That's not your business.
I was really shocked because I had not expected that. I didn't know what was going on. I was very confused. And then when I cottoned on to what was happening, my initial thought was, okay, don't understand this, not entirely sure what's happening here. Best to finish the show and then deal with this privately. When the show did end, Jack got up. I made an attempt to apologize, or to at least ask what had happened and what had made him react that way. He told me to go fuck myself, or he either said go
Oh my gracious. Such a prima donna, big dog. Like, come on, man. You should not be that daggone sensitive, bruh.
yourself, or he said fuck you again, I can't remember which. And then he left. At that point, Elijah went to go and talk to him to see if the situation might be resolved, and that is when they went to go and get drinks. Jack then apologized the next day. We had a conversation about it where we came to the understanding that the situation was just a unfortunate misunderstanding, and it just seemed done and dusted at that point. I said to him that I wasn't going to make a big song and dance about it. I didn't have any intention of commenting or making things worse or doing anything that might exacerbate the situation, because again, guys, I hate drama. I don't want to be involved in drama. It's not helpful. It seemed as though he thought that I was doing all of this to embarrass him, which you guys obviously know is not the case, and I've already stated that. And I also want to say here too that we have had so many guests on the show so far in the short time that it's been running, and not once have I ever gone out of my way to denigrate or embarrass somebody just for the sake of doing it. And I will note too that I've been sat opposite people that I really don't like as people. And I've been sat opposite people whose ideas really, really rub me the wrong way, whose ideas I never ever want instituted in any capacity because I think that they're corrosive. And yet in those situations, not once have I attacked them or embarrassed them or gone out of my way to be hurtful and unkind to them, because that is not the kind of show that we run. That is not the kind of person that I am, and that's certainly not the kind of person that Elijah is either. At no point during our show was I trying to trap him or dredge up his past. I mean, obviously, he successfully did that himself. So naturally, when I watched the Tim Pool episode, I was just really disappointed. The way it appeared, at least to me, was that blame was being shifted, and in addition to that, to help that blame shift, lies were being told.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Extended to me, and assume, at least for now, that Tim and his crew were operating from a place of resolution, not wanting to exacerbate the issue, just wanting to briefly discuss the drama and then move on from it.
You never take accountability. That's the problem with y'all punks, man. That's the problem with you suckers. Y'all can't take accountability, man. Take accountability for yourself. Because you took it out on her and then try to act like she deserved to be attacked. She wouldn't have been asking you about a daggone story had you not written it. You wrote it. That was you.
I know that many of you are very concerned, and many of you have been sending me things and videos and articles and what have you, and I want you guys to know that I have seen them, and I know that many of you who've been here for a really long time probably know how I feel about them and how I reacted to them, and I hope that you'll understand that in this particular video, this is not the time for like a takedown type situation. Not that I do that, but you know what I mean. It's not the time for it. I wanted to clear the air about things that were said about me personally and not bring in extraneous factors. But like I said, if you guys want...
I love that. Much respect to you. Oh my gracious, much respect to you. Y'all know how much respect I got for this young lady for that? She has 800,000 subscribers. She's very popular. She gets phenomenal numbers on her videos. So to imagine what her inbox looked like. I'm this daggone goofy looking black dude, old, 44 years old. You know what I mean? My best days was probably behind me. Nah, that's not true. But I can only imagine what her DMs look like. And if they're trying to protect her and trying to look out for her, they're gonna be sending. Check this out. They're gonna find some stuff that she could have used for evil. She could have used that for evil. She's deciding not to. She could have used it for evil. She's deciding not to. That's what you, Jack Murphy, sir. That's what you call integrity.
Whatever. But I think we've all been there. But
I think that was good. Y'all let me know whatever y'all want me to know about this, man. I'm glad I got some information now. I got some information. It's cleared up. I now know why the dude, Jack Murphy, got so upset and so butthurt about that lady bringing up that story. Listen, can't always listen to the shrooms. Don't listen to the weed always. Just listen. Try to tap. That's why it's so important to tap into God, because it's imperative that you have God on your side, because sometimes you're not going to be able to control yourself. And now you got to deal with that because you couldn't control that. You could have not done it, but you did it. It's out there. All right? It's out there. Now everybody know. It's okay to have your lifestyle. But if you're going to live that lifestyle, bro, you can't take it out on other people because you brought them into your business. I'm glad you made that clear, Miss Sydney Watson.